Today I'm bringing you the assassin build. All right, let's get started. All right, today we're bringing you my assassin build. Now, as you know, there's no classes in the game, so there's no assassin or berserker or warrior or ranger, but I wanted to make an assassin build. I've played them in other games, and this game didn't have any like dual daggers or anything like that. The closest thing we have to an assassin is the rapier. So this build is based around this bad boy right here, the rapier. Now, before we get into it, you can see the weapons down there on the right-hand side. But I will say this, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can use a few different weapons with this, but I wanted to go with that melee aspect, and rapier and spear seemed to be what I sort of came to a conclusion was the best. Now, maybe some other rapier spells you've seen, most of them rely more on the spear and then the rapier as a secondary, but we're really using the rapier as our primary damage dealer. All right, so let's talk about the rapier right off the bat. It's a pretty standard tree. We take everything but these first two perks, and then we take in engaged or whatever that is, and then refreshing strikes. Now, if you don't want refreshing strikes, you can take desperation instead. It is up to you. I like a little bit of cooldown reduction. I don't really need the extra damage, but the extra damage obviously is nice. We're going with an assassin build, but this is going to allow us to get our, our cooldowns off cooldown just a little bit faster, and when we do things like flesh and stuff like that, it can really help our cooldowns. Of course, we're going the evade side of the tree with, or gray side of the tree with evade, flesh, and riposte. Now, I tried both sides. I tried, the blood side. We tried a lot of Tondo. We tried some flurry and flourishing finish, and these are just essentially PvE skills. These actually do more burst damage than this side of the tree, which is kind of insane. The only skill over here that actually does a little bit more burst, surprisingly, would be flourish and finish. I mean, flurry can, but you're rooted for those attacks, and it just turned out it wasn't that good. Tondo was kind of a good idea. We tried it a little bit back and forth, but realistically, evade did more damage than Tondo, so we still stuck with this tree. So let's talk about the secondary weapon. So we're going to be scaling our weapon or our attributes off of our rapier, which is an int dex weapon. So it has to be an int or dex weapon. Now, if we want to, we could take another weapon and put it, an int gem in it and scale it off of int, but we really didn't want to have to do that. So we tried a few things. I think sword and shield might be really good next patch for that extra type of just CC, and then really swap to the rapier and get those big attacks. I will probably try that once, we don't lose attributes, but this build is actually very attribute starved, and I just couldn't bring myself to use the sword and shield. But do I have the sword on me? I don't have the sword on me, but we actually have two really good shields here. We have this Con, Vicious, Refreshing, Keenly Empowered, and we have Keen, Refreshing, and Enchanted. So we have two big DPS shields here. So next patch, we will be using those with a sword and shield build. So we chose spear. Now, when it comes to the spear, the reason why I chose it is because one, it was that melee playstyle, and two, it's just got a lot of CC components. Now, when we look over here, you can notice I didn't take javelin. We took skewer instead. Now, you can take javelin if you want that extra CC, but I love engaging on targets that don't know I'm coming with a skewer right into a sweep combo. If they're not paying attention to it, skewer does some big damage, especially if you're, they're 100% health. It puts a big bleed on them, and then sweep with Coup de Grace can actually do a lot of damage. Now, some of the clips you're going to see, I wasn't running Coup de Grace, but after I kind of started fleshing out the build, I really do think that is the best because, again, this build is based on a rapier. We're using this mainly for CC. All right, so pretty standard trees here. Like I said, you can take javelin over skewer, but if you take out these points, you will have to get extraction or extravating crits and crippling jabs. Neither one of these are that great, so that's why we went this route. And plus, I actually really do like skewer. Let's go to the attribute points here. Let's see if my food is worn off. It has. We'll go ahead and eat some food so you can see. Now, the one thing that's nice about this build is I'm running Poacher's Pie, which is actually really cheap. It's only like 30. whenever you go into an OPR or you're doing anything, it is really easy to actually put this food on here. And remember, I said this build is very attribute starved, and we really do want to be running tier 5 food. So here are our points. We have 258, 150, and 100. Now, if you're a little bit starved on points, we're going to take them out of con. So you go at least 50 con, and then you can put the rest of the points into Dex Int. Now, the reason why we have this set up is I wanted to go a little bit extra con instead of going 300 Dex, 150 Int. The guaranteed crit passive here is pretty good, but we actually crit a lot anyway, so we don't really need it. But the extra 10% crit damage here and the 15% elemental damage here plus this passive, they're really, really good, which is the reason why we wanted to go 150 Int. Now, this gives us, with this passive right here, from 80 con to 100, because the gear that I'm currently wearing had 80 con on it. Now, I can swap it around to have less con, but at a few pieces of gear that were a little bit better. It is like almost 1,000 points. It's, if I remember correctly, like 800 hit points. So we decided to go that route, and if I go from 50 to 100, it's definitely over 1,000. It's right around 1,000. So we get an extra 1,000 hit points by going the 100 con. Now, this passive obviously gets a lot better if you have medium armor or heavy armor, but this is the stat points we have set up. The big nodes here, we want to get this 150 and this, or this 250 and this 150. So let's talk about the gear. So first off, we have our Rapier, the Forgotten Queens. We love the enchanted on here. Honestly, the keen and refreshing are good, but not that needed. You really want the enchanted on here. If I could have a Rapier that they just, if someone was like, here you go, it would be keen, enchanted, and flame or abyssal attunement. Those are do so much damage. Now, there are a few things possibly next patch that might be upgrades over this, but currently, if I could pick my 3 perks, that would probably be what it is. Okay, and then we have, of course, the Javelin of Druidic Empowerment. Very easy spear to get. Realistically, you don't really need anything. If you actually get like Enchanted, it's pretty good, or Keen Vicious, Keenly Empowered, Enchanted. All those are really, really good. Now, I have a diamond in here, but you actually probably want a malachite, but this is what I've been using for PvE, and the diamond's okay, but you definitely want probably either an opal or a malachite. Opal's actually really good because we'll show you that here in a second. I rarely actually have stamina full, but I'm actually using the spear. All right, for gear, we are in light armor. Now, I am on a little weird setup. You do want medium chest here and like everything else, but a long time ago, I had these crafted for me. Honestly, it's not even that good for this build, but it was Feebling Poison Shot, Refreshing Evasion, and Physical Aversion. So I've been running this setup on my dex builds, but you want medium here and then light the rest of the other places. Of course, the big ones we want Sundering Riposte. That's really good. We do want, we don't have it here, but you want the perk for your, you go here, your flesh and Keenly, or Keenly Vault Kick and Enfeebling Skewer. Those are all really, really good. Of course, you want all the perks for everything. It doesn't, like, you can do Omni Evade for the Rapier for your evade, but Sundering Riposte and the flesh one is pretty good because sometimes we will engage with that. Okay, and then of course we want just, you know, your standard resilient and stuff like that. It's a lot harder in this game to gear, so it's not as easy to show the gear, but I'll just go over each piece here. We have Sinful Glare. This is a really good piece. And of course my chest piece, gloves. We're running Void Bent legs here. And then we are just these medium boots, which I said. And then we have this amulet. I actually really do enjoy this amulet. I made this the other day. Then we have Featherweight. And I have my Nimble, Purifying Toast, Refreshing Evasion. This is actually everything that I would want. I would either take away Nimble or Purifying Toast for Refreshing Toast. Refreshing Toast is the best perk on an earring that you can possibly have. But Purifying Toast is fine. Nimble's, I really do enjoy Nimble, and Refreshing Evasion is pretty good too. Okay, so let's talk about the playstyle. We've went almost 10 minutes over gearing, attributes, and everything else. And let's talk about why this build just really destroys. Now, we will have PvP clips at the end, but you can kind of engage in 2 different ways. So the first way is more of a reactive playstyle with the Rapier, and that is, of course, the normal. If they're on, they're coming at you, you hit your riposte there, you riposte them. Now, whenever you riposte them, the best thing to do is do a fully charged heavy attack into an evade into a flesh. Now, so like this. Now, the one thing you do have to watch out is two things. One, sometimes when you use your flesh, if you are right on the target, it will go through them without hitting them, especially people. Animals are a little bit different story. They have bigger hitboxes, but let's see if I can... See, look, I evaded through him, but it didn't actually hit. So you actually sometimes have to be a little bit back. So you got to really watch your hitboxes on your flesh. Now, if you want to engage on the rapier, there's one other way to do it, and that would be to use the backstab from the flesh. And this actually, I suggest to do this if your cooldowns on your spears are up, and it's a lot of damage. So we're just gonna do flesh with the back. Oh, we missed it, but you do the backstab into the evade, light attack. Let's go over here and do it one more time. And then you have riposte for when they re-engage you. Now, if you do this combo, you want to do this typically against a more immobile target. If they're running a rapier, I don't use my flesh because I'm have to use my flesh to keep on them. So we're gonna do this again. Boom, just like that. It is so much damage. And now apparently I killed them just with the flesh, but that's how you want to do it. Just backstab and then evade, light attack. All right, and then the other way in which the way I actually prefer to engage on targets is actually with my spear, and you're gonna see this mainly. So what I like to do is if I'm coming up behind a target and they don't know I'm there, I'm gonna actually go skewer into my knockdown here, so. Now, obviously that's a wolf and he doesn't have a whole lot of hit points, and you're gonna see this combo when you see the clips at the end, but that's really good. Now, when it comes to that, a lot of times I will only use my vault kick if they're trying to run away. So if they're trying to run away and they know you're there, the best thing I like to do is I'll do a roll into a vault kick. And then you do the sweep, coup de grace, skewer, and then you can go on your rapier bar. Now, obviously this is a rapier build, and that's typically not gonna kill people because you're not running that much dex. But once you get them knocked down and hit them with the coup de grace there, that's when you go to your rapier, and you can finish them off really easily with a good heavy attack if you can hit the riposte on them. If not, don't worry about the heavy attack. You can just do a light attack, evade light attack. So that is a lot of burst damage, and then you can flesh through them. Don't underestimate the damage of the rapier. The rapier does crazy damage. You're going to see it in here. I go up to healers sometimes. I'll just do a few light attacks in their back, and they are absolutely nuked down. You're going to see one clip of me absolutely destroying a life staff user just really quickly. It is absolutely, the damage output in this weapon is absolutely insane. And that is because we are stacking these two attributes. Now, one thing to note, at the beginning of the game, we always thought it's better with one attribute weapon. Now, if you're going like a bruiser type of playstyle, this is insane. If you can pump 300, get that 100% scaling on it, and then go into 200 con, that's obviously going to be better for any build, for the most part, that can run one stat, like especially the Great Axe Warhammer. Now, when you start going into other weapons that have dual stats like spear, rapier, hatchet, you can actually put out more damage with these because you get a lot more skill points. And look at this. So on the strength build, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now with this rapier build, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We get 8 full points that all synergize with us. Now, if you go one more point, man after dodge, we really don't care about that, but we're getting crit chance, we're getting thrust damage, which it does thrust damage. Dodges cost less stamina, which is just great if you're a dex user. We have 10% bonus backstab and headshot damage. Of course, we need that. 10% bonus critical hit damage on stunned, slowed, rooted enemies. Of course, 10% to light and heavy magic attacks. That is the reason why we put an elemental gem in here, or part of the reason, because it's going to 50% of that. So essentially, that's 5% damage to our light and heavy attacks on the rapier. And then we have 10% crit hit damage, and we have 15% elemental damage, which is half of our attacks because we have the gem in it, so it splits it. So it is crazy. It is the reason why doing dual stat builds is so powerful, because you get so many really insane passive, especially when you're doing int, because dex int are the two most powerful trees when it comes to damage. and we are stacking those two, and it is absolutely insane. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. We have PvP clips after here. This is a little bit longer video. This is gonna be about 16, 17 minutes long, it looks like. But I hope you enjoyed this build. I was trying to find a new build that people typically weren't going. I know Rapier Spear is a combo that people use. Typically when I've seen it, they go like 300 dex, maybe 100 or 50 int. But we're really relying on our Rapier to do big damage. And you're gonna see that in these clips after here. All right, guys, let me know in the comment section down below what weapons you want to see next. And we're going to have PvP clips coming up shortly. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.